Thank you to my staff and the staff of the Western New York National Cemetery for bringing this together so that we could join today and celebrate those who have worn the cloth of our nation. I'm going to say a few things today, but I think the next thing I'm going to say and the next direction and order that I am going to give is probably the most important and what everybody has been waiting to hear. We have Clyde Marsh, our Executive Director of our North Atlantic District, here with us. He is responsible for all of our cemeteries in the North Atlantic region. Executive Director Marsh, as of today, you are authorized and directed to commence interments at the Western New York National Cemetery no later than December 18th, 2020.
As many of you are aware, veterans in Western New York and the Rochester area have a proud and long history of serving their nation in uniform. We have one of the highest records of enlistment in all of the United States. We have one of the highest records of service in all of the United States. But unfortunately, until now, many of these veterans and their families didn't have easy access to a national veterans cemetery. For too long now, if these veterans did want to be buried in a veterans cemetery, the closest site was Bath, New York.
Look at what's happening here, Western New York. You are dedicating a facility to the sons and daughters of this part of the state who have served since the Revolution. 9 holders of the Medal of Honor came from the 3 counties surrounding us. People like recently David Belavia in Iraq. Frederick Toy, who saved Teddy Roosevelt's life as he charged up Kettle Drum Hill. People like Ely Parker, who grew up on Tonawanda lands not too far from here and was the senior Native American officer in the Union Army. He drafted the terms of surrender, and as he approached Robert E. Lee to hand him the document, Lee stood up, shook his hand, looked at General Grant and said, "General Grant, I'm honored to see a true American here," to which Parker snapped to attention and said, "General Lee, we are all Americans here." No greater testament to the meaning of service or the meaning of this nation. 41 million Americans have served in uniform.
This is a day that is long in coming. Due to the COVID situation and the severe limitations on attendees, so many of the veterans and community advocates who fought for the cemetery are not here today, unfortunately. Let me say to all of you that are not here, who would be under normal circumstances, thank you.
But Senator Schumer, I was a newly elected member of Congress in 2011 when this journey began, and I just have to commend you for never giving up. You recognize many others, but I think you deserve a special round of applause because this got over the finish line because you were like a dog with a bone. You were not going to let this go. So let's give Senator Schumer a round of applause for never giving up.
About a year ago, Senator, you and I visited, and I committed to you that we would deliver a dignified burial option to the veterans of the Western New York area by the end of 2020. And our team, Senator, has delivered.
As I said, and it cannot be underestimated, it was veterans who were first to recognize the need for this cemetery in the mid-2000s. They did what Americans do, grassroots organizing, getting all the VA posts of the Legion, of the American Legion, the VFW, the disabled veterans, and so many others to come together and demand action. And they were strong, and they had right on their side, and we have been able now to fulfill their mission and their dream.
And I can tell you, here in rural America, this is the fabric of our country. This is where the largest number of our service men and women come from in this nation. they defend us, and they take care of us. And yes, Senator, as you said, they deserve this honor because they have earned it, and they will forever be honored here.
Because our region deserves this cemetery. Our veterans deserve this cemetery. The family members of our veterans deserve to mourn, pray, and visit their loved ones in our region, not over 100 miles away.
Not much is left to be said other than this is a very personal event for me as well. I was a younger person, certainly by a lot of years, back during the Vietnam War. I had 4 uncles serving during that conflict. Just 2 weeks ago, we lost one of those uncles, honored, who served during the Vietnam conflict, my Uncle Kevin. Uncle Kevin could have been buried here. He was interned in Florida just not long ago, but I would have meant the world to me to bring Uncle Kevin back to where he grew up, and for our family members to be able to come here and bring a bouquet of flowers on Memorial Day, and to walk among the other headstones and think about the tremendous sacrifice and the families who suffered as well. And that comes from someone whose father-in-law served during World War II, who had many members, my own immediate family, serving at the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station. So I take this very personal.
No one has ever captured the importance of the Veterans Cemetery more than Abraham Lincoln in his Gettysburg Address, which he delivered at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery at Gettysburg. That hallowed and historic day at that Pennsylvania battlefield, part of what Lincoln said was the following: "The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they have fought here, have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of their devotion, that this nation, under God, shall have the new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." To conclude, just as President Lincoln said so many years ago, it is likely few will remember what is said here today, but we must never forget what our veterans and our military have done and do every day to preserve our freedoms.
When the toll of war rose steeply and plans went wrong, Lincoln appealed for strength in his inmost thoughts to a power higher than man's, and strength was certainly given to him. The seeds of that vision are visible here. The cost of that vision is visible here. Here we dedicate a shrine, once again, to the ordinary American men and women, the men and women of Western New York, who never failed freedom's cause when the call came.
What I learned as a child, an old Jewish proverb. That proverb tells us that we all die 2 deaths. We die the first time when breath leaves us, but we only truly die sometime in the future when no one speaks our name or tells our story. On this hallowed ground, the stories and the deeds of our veterans from the Western New York area will be told. Their names will be spoken, and they will never be forgotten.
In 1986, Ronald Reagan presented General Ridgway with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And Reagan said that heroes come when they are needed. Great men and women step forward when courage seems in short supply. So that is what we are about today. That is what the senators, the leaders' fight has been about for these many years. To never fail nor forsake those men and women who step forward when courage seems in short supply.
We can never thank them enough for their sacrifices, never. But now we can ensure that Western New York veterans will have a fitting final place of honor.
And when veterans come back from service, they deserve more than just a thank you for your service, as nice as it is to say that, because our Vietnam veterans did not even get that much. They deserve the dignity of a good home and mental health services if they need it, and make sure they've got education, and make sure they have a job. And I'll never forget, as a member of the House Armed Services Committee in Congress, going over to Afghanistan and gathering a number of individuals in Kandahar, members of our active duty military, and asking them what their greatest fears were. And I assumed the answer would be, well, we got the Taliban right out here, and we're worried about this, we just lost someone yesterday. Their biggest fear was coming back to America and not having a job and ending up homeless. Can you imagine that that's what's on the minds of our military when they're serving us, willing to shed their lives for us? So we owe them. We owe them so much, and I've dedicated myself to their well-being when they return.
May God bless our great veterans in this region. May God bless the Veterans Administration and the people who work there. May God bless all veterans, and may God bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. George.
The plaque reads, Western New York National Cemetery, dedicated to the memory of all the patriots who answered our country's call to service. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Robert Wilkie, Secretary, United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Randy Reeves, Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs, National Cemetery Administration, dedicated November 2020. Please unveil the plaque. Over the past year and a half, a tribute to the fallen and their families plaque has been dedicated at each of the National Cemetery Administration's ceremonies. It will be mounted and displayed here at the cemetery after this dedication. It reads, in honor of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice in service to the United States of America and the families they left behind, their sacrifice will not be forgotten. Ranger rifle salute.
Ready. Ready. Aim. Fire.